music starts right now. I'm about to go.
Right, so welcome back after lunch, everyone. I'm going to hand over to Jenny. I've seen versions of this talk before, but I'm keen to see how it's evolved.
Okay. Woo! And just in case anybody else hasn't seen it, there's been talk of this being an updated version, and that's a bit of a lie. I think there's 3 new slides, but there's a bit more to talk about at the end of it because I have an install profile, which is just about complete, which I'll be demoing, I guess, throughout this, but then I can ask any more questions, or anybody can ask questions about that, how it works at the end. So I'll just get started. This is building a tasty backend, and thank you for coming out, even though we're battling the whatever is going on outside. So just a bit of, who am I before we go? That's my name. I work under the name of Delicious Creative. I'm one of these people that is a solo freelancer yet has a company name. I like to sound bigger than I am. And it works sometimes. I get people calling me up saying, can I speak to somebody in marketing? Yeah, that's me. Really? You answered the phone. I know. It's my company. I'm originally from the US, if you haven't been able to tell already. But I spent a lot of time in Liverpool, about 6.5 years, and then moved to Brighton about 1.5 years ago. So my accent does go a bit confusing sometimes. I apologize. A lot of people just ask me if I'm Irish. And I've been using Drupal since about 2006, 2007, which is basically right after I moved to the UK in 2006. Sometime in that time, I was managing sites for the company I used to work for, and there were these massive, sprawling, static HTML sites with table layouts and all that great stuff that I inherited in like 2001. And started looking into different CMS platforms and different ways of doing things. And my boss said WordPress, and I said, no way, man, Drupal. And then shortly after that, I lost my job, which was great. But then I got to start freelancing and using Drupal all the time, and that worked quite good. There is a demo site if you'd like to play along at home or look on your laptops. While we're here at tastybackends.com, don't worry, it is a demo site, it's nothing else. And if you Google Tasty Backends, don't worry, it's a safe for work search, I swear. I'm quite proud of the fact that if you Google Tasty Backends, all stuff about me shows up. And that's with safe search off as well. So what is this all about? Drupal's really powerful. That's why we all love it and everything else, which I think I've got a bullet point for that and everything. Because you can do anything with it. And quite often when people are saying, like, oh, I need this system to integrate with this other system, I say, screw that, build it all in Drupal. Drupal can do it all. It's incredibly powerful, incredibly flexible, and should be the system to take over all systems. And as far as I'm concerned, we don't need anything else. But for the people we're building our websites for, depending on how we structure and put them together, they might not be so keen on Drupal, because Drupal is so powerful. I got a call the other day from somebody that specializes in a different system, freaking out about it. He was going, oh, Drupal sucks, Drupal sucks, Drupal sucks. I was like, hey, Drupal doesn't suck. The website you inherited sucks. And you suck for saying to these people, yeah, I'll be no problem, and I'll look after your site, knowing you didn't do any Drupal. So word to the wise, if you have an existing Drupal site and you're looking for somebody to maintain it, make sure they actually do Drupal. That's a side note. But in the end, he couldn't use it, and the clients couldn't use it, and they had no idea what was going on. And the problem was the way it was put together. The problem wasn't Drupal. So, well, yeah, because I'm getting ahead of myself. People that are using the sites are normal. We're not normal. It's Saturday. We're inside in the dark-ish, trying to drown out music from outside, talking about Drupal. Come on. Our clients aren't doing this. They want to get on their website and do what they need to do and get off the website. They don't care how it's put together. We do. That's why we're here. But we're not normal. They're the normal ones. We're the weirdos, the freakazoids, the ones wearing Drupal T-shirts. And I'm going to hang this up on my wall with all my other lanyards, all the other Drupal stuff I go to, because I love this stuff. It's great. So we're the freakazoids. And because Drupal is so powerful, we need to make it easy for them. And because all this power really overwhelms the users, and although Drupal gives us a good start as a system to make things easier for people, to let people manage their own sites, we can do a hell of a lot better, because what Drupal gives us is only okay. And that's basically because Drupal is not, I know that, the guy in the keynote kept saying, oh, Symfony and Drupal, because Drupal is CMS. No, Drupal is not a CMS. Drupal is a toolkit for building a CMS. So if you just get Drupal and say, yeah, here's your CMS, your clients may or may not like it because it's a toolkit. It's what we use to build our sites. It's not the be-all, end-all. And I think that's something that Drupal as a whole, I think, needs to get over. That's a different talk. But it's a point that I like to kind of hammer home. Because so many times I inherit sites that are put together, and everybody just has user one login because they think Drupal is the CMS. But no, you just took something and handed it over to somebody and said, this is your CMS, even if the way that Drupal wants to do it by default isn't the way that your site is structured. And chances are, it's not. So the bottom line is, if you're only providing user one access, you have failed. I am sorry. I've done it in the past, a long time ago. I've had many of these failures until I started doing this, and then the failures, I hope, have stopped. But I'm a freelancer. I get called on by a lot of different agencies in Brighton and elsewhere to be the one that comes in on the white horse and fixes the Drupal site and then charges them a day rate and then rides off again. I'm a Drupal hired gun in a lot of regards. And one day I'm going to make a documentary called Fistful of Modules. Western reference for anybody. Because I end up having to fix these sites, and 99% of the time, there's no other user roles configured. And Joan from accounting that needs to update a financial page once a year has full administrative access of the entire site. I was at, and it doesn't matter how big or small the site, I was at a site built for a large international bank. I was on site there, doing a bit of work for them, talking through them because they needed some work done on the site. And there's this woman just said, I just want to get to what it is I need to do. And once again, she had to update a couple small sections of the site, and she had complete administrative control over everything. So let's use the tools that Drupal gives us as this toolkit to build something a little bit better. Because all of our people are humans. So basically what we want to do is, realize our content admins are human. Because remember, they're the normal ones. We're not. And we always use the term users in Drupal and every other system, and I do it as well. But we do need to remember that the people that are actually using these sites after we're done with them are people. And they're not like us. And we need to tailor the sites for them. So we need to simplify how they add their content, how they manage their content, how they get around as admins of their own sites. And it's really not that hard. I swear it's easy. It really, really is. A bit nervous, can you tell? So, creating content. This is really the be-all, end-all. I think I've got a bullet point. Yes, for what clients need. Everybody, you get a call. Oh, I need a website so that I can update myself. That's always the classic example. Bigger companies understand it a bit better, but especially with smaller companies, I want to have a blog that I update once a year because basically that's what happens. But they need the ability to do that. So Drupal gives us these basic forms out of the box, and they're okay. I think I've got an example. So if we add, this is standard install, so we need to add an article or something. Yeah, we've all seen these. This is what happens. And yeah, they're okay. They do the job for, I guess, this, but, Anybody remember Drupal 5 and 6 where we had expanding and collapsing field sets everywhere, all over the content creation forms? Oh, my clients hated those. What is this? Oh, it expands, it contracts. Not good. So we ended up with these vertical tabs down here at the bottom, which clean things up a lot, in my opinion anyway. They're nice and easy. They're clearly labeled. They don't kind of do any weird animations when, it doesn't scare people that might be a bit tech-phobic or whatever. So my solution is to vertical tab everything. And just as a disclaimer, while I'm going through this, the way that I do things, this is not the be-all, end-all about how you should build your Drupal sites. This is stuff I started doing a while back and have kind of refined over the years. And I've found it works. So as I go through these examples, please feel free to use your own way of structuring things. If you get anything out of this, is once again, don't let Drupal be the CMS, make the CMS. So I literally just put everything in the vertical tabs. I even put my mom in vertical tabs. She makes a damn good lemon meringue pie as well. So yeah, everything. And so we have this article here, right? So then if we go to like the Casey backend version, it loads. There we go. Everything's in vertical tabs now. And this really simplifies the forms, because no longer do people have to kind of scroll through all this stuff and then get to these confusing things down at the bottom. They just, there, it's in front of them. The options are there, but the stuff that they need to do to be successful in creating that content is right there in front of them, and everything else is hidden. Because 9 times out of 10, you don't need a menu item. You don't, this is probably happening automatically if you're using Path Auto. You don't need to change any of this stuff. And most of the times when I'm building out content types for clients, there's no need to mess with any of that stuff. And especially, like this is an example of user 1 login. There's stuff that may not be relevant. You might not want to give people the the ability to author or set comments or whatever else. So get rid of it. And the way that things are buttoned up by default in Drupal 8, once I get my strategy for this done in Drupal 8, I'll be getting rid of all those things on the right-hand side. I hate 2-column layouts, because what it does is put a bunch of stuff right up top, right at the front, that people don't need to look at. So if they don't need to look at it, hide it. Get it away. And to do that, you need the field group module, which does a lot of other cool things. But field group is great. And basically, you just, through the Drupal UI, say, I want vertical tab. These are the things I want in it. Boom. So minimum success, all you need to do is fill out what's in front of you, hit save, and you're done. No faff about with anything else. Really streamlines the whole kind of thing. It shortens the forms, and like I said, it simplifies things so clients don't recoil in fear, and just gets things directly to the point of what they need to do to be successful. And everything else I like to get rid of. It also hides like long lists of things. So you'll see in this like, kind of article content type, there's images. I just like to put it separately, because you don't need an image for this. So people might think, oh, I might have to. Well, maybe you do, maybe you don't. But at least now you kind of have a separate thing. And if you add like a cropping module or something, quite often you will have like big image and stuff like that. And then that way you can hide all that stuff behind it. So if somebody needs to edit the content type, they only need to change some text. They don't need to scroll down past this giant image, which is there for cropping or other purposes. So it really just gets things to the point. And you can add in lots of stuff without making the form look huge. For example, I have a product model content type here. And let's take a look at all these fields. I mean, that's pretty complicated. That's not the most complicated content type I've ever done, but it was one I had ready for an example at hand for today. So there we go. Product model. Here is it, cleaned up a bit, because this is actually, let's bring up what this actually, you can see a finished one. I prepared this one earlier, as they say in cooking shows. We'll go to these. So this product model content type, we have these videos here, we have images, we have this top text, we have this table here, we have downloads over here, and the way that I've structured that is quite similar to that. So you have a tabbed box for that table. They can go, it matches up with what's on the front. Quite easy for them. If they need to add a video, cool, they can do it there. If they need images, if they need links, if they need downloads, whatever. It's a lot shorter than all of this. And the bottom line is, to create one of these, you don't need to have a video, you don't need to have downloads, you don't need to have this tabbed box. So the minimum stuff you need to fill out to be successful in creating this content is only these things right here. You need a title, a language, a category, and whatever's appearing at the top. Everything else is purely optional.
Are we in creating new now? We're not editing an existing one?
No, this is creating a new one. If you need to edit one, you get the same thing. So if you see all the content that's
If
here.
you're editing one, it has say 3 videos. Would it say like 3 in brackets next to the video? Tell you that there's something there.
Hold on a second.
Sorry.
No, you'll just see them all. This is my terrible version that's not there. Let me see if my server will work for one of these. I'm tethering to my phone at the moment, so it might be slow because the Wi-Fi is not working particularly great. This is kind of a demo site I have for testing off of their main domain. Go to the same one. Come on, you can do it. So what you'll see here is, what? Also, no WYSIWYG, but that's another session as well. So what you're seeing in there is all the stuff I needed to put in. Your video just shows preview the video. So if you had 3, it would just show 1, 2, 3. But they only wanted 1. So they don't get anything else. You can also add more function to your content types without creating, like, say, additional content types. For example, everybody loves those carousels and slideshows, right? In front of like every website ever now. No, everybody hates them. Well, we all hate them. Clients love them because everybody clicks the first one and then nobody cares about the rest of them. But for example, if you need to put that, what do? We often have like a separate content type to handle those kind of slides. Or if you research my What the X session from Drupal Camp London, I did that with a custom entity type of the ECK module, but once again, that's a different session. But you can put it into a content type and get rid of it. So this site has a front page slideshow, and there's a front page slideshow vertical tab. So if they want to add this to the slideshow, they just go to that tab and fill out the stuff necessary for the slideshow. There's no having to reference another node. There's no having to create another content type which creates bloat or a custom entity type or anything else. You can do it within the content type you might want to promote. So since this is now hidden in a vertical tab, 99% of the time, they're not going to add it. They just want to add the title and body or images or whatever, because this is a blog post. And then when they want to, they can show that. If this was a normal form, the way Drupal would want to spit it out, you would have all this cruft, like say at the bottom of the screen, that people just have to scroll past to hit save, and that's just going to confuse people in the long run. So you can add a lot of functionality. I'm sure there's other use cases for this. You can add more functionality into your sites without having to create additional complexity of content types or anything else. Also, getting rid of all the stuff Drupal likes to put by default. Get rid of the preview button. It doesn't work, especially if you're using an admin theme, which you probably are and probably should be for creating a lot of your content. It makes things a lot easier. But when you hit that preview button, what gets spat out is not what it looks like in the end. So just get rid of it. You're just going to get calls from clients saying, why doesn't this look right, et cetera, et cetera. So if your clients need to preview stuff, just tell them don't publish it, hit save, look at it in its unpublished state, and when you're ready for it, publish it again. It's also a good exercise to teach them that things can be published or unpublished. Those are all the reasons I just said. And you can go even further. If it's on the page and it doesn't need to be, get rid of it. A good example in Drupal 7 is comments. Where is it? Got too many tabs. Comments. If you have comments enabled on your site, you're going to get this comments tab on every single content type. Now, chances are you probably have 1 content type in your site that you want comments on, maybe 2. But you don't need comments on basic pages and elsewhere where they're just not really useful. And if this comment setting is there, even though you have it globally set to be closed or hidden or whatever the terminology is, somebody at some point who's using the site is going to turn it on. They're going to say, why do we have comments all over this page? It's not supposed to have comments. Like, well, you turned it on, even though that by default you didn't want people to be able to do that. So get rid of this. And you say, well, how do I do that? You don't have to do a form alter in a module. I often do, because I normally have a utility module kicking about or a form alter specific module. You can actually use rules and rules forms support to alter things in your forms on your content types, which comes in really handy as well for just sometimes you install a module and it adds this weird field here, this tick box there, there's too many other things in between. If it's on there and they don't need to see it, just get rid of it. You're going to get a call about it. Somebody's going to take it. It's going to produce unwanted results. Get rid of it. Only takes a couple of minutes with rules to go ahead and do it, or just to unset something or set access to false in a form alter. So now that we've created all this content, we need a place to manage it all. And the default content page, quite frankly, sucks. because it's one page for everything. And you're going to have, especially in larger sites, a lot of different content types, and they're all going to be unique in their own way. They might have categories, they might have references, they might have images. This is a one-size-fits-all solution, which once again, Drupal needs to provide something by default, but isn't really all that great in the long run. And also, it's too many clicks. You got to filter through everything to get to the stuff you need to get to. You don't get specific information. I'm sure a lot of you have built like gallery content types, or have had node types just for images or something. And if the content type is based around images, where's the images? Like, you'd think you'd be able to see it with a thumbnail of the image to manage it all, but this isn't here. So we need to do better than that. And views bulk operations is your best friend for this. I'm always surprised at how many people don't religiously love this thing, because I've been madly in love with it for so long, which is maybe why I don't have a partner. So that's a terrible joke. You got to be down with VBO so to make sure that you're creating admin screens that actually suit the content. An example of what I was just saying on this cat site, we do have, oh my goodness, admin. Go to manage content. We have like a banner content type. So just as a quick example, if it loads. Well, these will probably take a while, but you can see there are supposed to be images here. And also, we have language information here, and we have custom filters for all that kind of stuff. But you can actually see relevant information. If you enable, translation, you'll get that on the core content page. But quite often for these, more examples of this would be something like these product models as well, which I just showed, that have a lot of references or categories or deal with a lot of other content. And you can show all that stuff on the admin screens, which helps your clients get to the stuff that they need to get to. But also, I find, helps me build out sites, which is another kind of extra bonus. Because sometimes I think getting information from clients about the actual structure of their content or what they're trying to achieve can be quite difficult. And trying to field it out and come up with things that make sense can be somewhat hard to get that information out of them. And putting that information in front of myself, who I'm not an expert in every single thing they do, I'm called in to do a job and then leave probably, helps me understand their content better as well by having access to this information quite quickly. So everybody's happy. So now that we have these views, and if we go back to just a basic kind of Tasty backend site, as a standard install, you'll see we have these views. These are up at admin manage content articles. You need to have a house for all these views. Otherwise, they're just kind of out there. Because this is a custom administration section, so you need to actually build more of that in as well. But it's quite easy with the context admin module, which is short for contextual administration, which allows you to do a lot of cool things, one of which is just create a screen to handle all of these views. So if I click on manage content here, look, here's a custom admin section, which is basically just built with menu items. You create it once at a path, and any children of that path are going to show up here automatically. And it creates a nice little home to handle all the views bulk operation children, because otherwise you have homeless views, and nobody wants a homeless view asking you for 20p for the bus. It's not good. I once got asked for 17p. I was like, it's really specific. Really, what do you need 17p? Also, the bus doesn't cost 17p. I don't think they were taking the bus. So contextual administration does all that stuff quite easily. It creates admin areas, and also can be used to create edit terms and vocabularies. And by default, in Drupal, you have these permissions for edit terms in X vocabulary name and delete terms in X vocabulary name. How do people do that? Does anyone know? If you give somebody that permission, what happens if somebody wants to delete that term? They have to go to the taxonomy/term/TID page, hit edit, and hit delete. Because those permissions do not give them access to any of the taxonomy administration screens. And because we're building this for the people to only manage these certain vocabularies, You don't want to give them access to that. Otherwise, you'll find a bunch of weird vocabularies that should never be on the site in there because somebody got curious and decided to play around in a live site creating stuff like that. So contextual administration helps those permissions make a lot of sense. So if we go back to this, I've created a custom categories page here. This is contextual administration admin page. And then I have a tags menu item. And this is just simply it recreates what Drupal does by default. I have given this user role the edit and delete permission for these terms. But if you look at the URL, you can see this isn't the default one. And there's also a custom add screen or add page for these terms as well. So it kind of mimics how taxonomy would work if they had that overall permission, but they don't need that overall permission. They need permission to edit this vocabulary. That's it. And context admin gives you the ability to do that quite easily. Administration menus. By default, on a Drupal standard install, where does it put like the navigation menu? In the first sidebar in Bartik. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't think my admin menus should be in my front-facing theme. Because, I don't always have sidebars. So then you put it in a sidebar, and you go, oh, okay, I'm navigating around. I need to add content. Oh, wait, where's my menu gone? I'm on a page that doesn't have a sidebar. Or it moves to the right or left. Like, that's really inconsistent. Your clients are going to hate you for that. So we need a better kind of admin menu, but we don't want to just give them the regular super management one. We want to customize the menu for them to make sure that it works for what they need to do. So what I use these days is admin menu source module. Because the first thing I do, any Drupal site, if it's somebody else's site or I'm making a site, install admin menu toolbar menu. That way I can get around quite quickly. I used to use QuickBar module for this, and I'm actually the D6 maintainer of, for some strange reason, with my one commit. And it's good, but I always like the way admin menu worked better, but I didn't want to give people that management menu to use. I wanted to use a navigation menu. I wanted to customize a menu for them. And admin menu source gives you that. So on the, I keep getting my sites confused. Is that the one? Yes. So this is admin menu source. This is actually the navigation menu. But you can see it behaves much like the admin. It uses admin menu toolbar, but basically that gives you the ability to define which menus are there. So on the configuration screen, oh, you gotta be kidding me. You'll see you can just choose your user roles and which menu they get, and you can customize it per role if you need to, and that gets the menu out of your front-facing theme. It's always consistent. It's always on top. The way you like it building the sites, your clients will like managing their sites as well. So it's something that is really important. Also, it minimizes page loads. You don't have to click 5 times through, add content and pick the content type. You can just scroll over and do that stuff. Like I said, you can use any menu you want. You can customize it per role and move on from there. Users. I'm going to hurry up a little bit. Quite often, content admins need to be able to add users as well. Let's say you have an administration role. You don't want to give out the ability for people just to add people and user roles willy-nilly. It's a very, very, very important part of the site. It's a very security-conscious part of the site. If you accidentally give somebody the wrong permission or give the ability to give somebody the wrong permission, somebody will end up doing something wrong on the site eventually. So I like to use a module called role delegation, which allows you to say, hey, this user role, I'll usually create a user admin role, can only assign these other couple roles. And then, once again, using context admin, here's a custom management screen for all the users. As you can see, we only have this one here. And if you go to add a user, you can only choose the roles I've got preset up here. That's to ensure that user management is handled properly. And another advantage of using context admin to create these sort of things, not only can you create more, searching by email. I mean, come on, the default users page doesn't do that. And how many times the client goes, oh, I need to find a user by an email, and you're like, oh, well, crap. I have to hunt through the database or stuff like that. No, you have a filter here And you'll also see this doesn't include the user one user. There's two users on this site. There's the demo user and there's the admin user. I don't want anybody on my sites poking around with my account. And if you give them permission to edit users, at some point somebody's going to try and delete the user one, which there's our protections against. But I don't want them changing my password. I don't want them knowing the account even exists. When I deliver sites to clients, they do not get user one password. If they do say, oh, I need master account, they get a really long email disclaimer saying, I am no longer responsible for what you do with this account. And I'll usually try to persuade them to use a different account that has full administrative privileges but isn't user one. And say, well, if you really need to, then you have the ability to get into the user one account. You can change things if you need to, because you shouldn't share accounts anyway. But by doing this, it just hides the user one. And you can hide other users if you need to. They'll never know they're there. They have no idea. So your site will be more secure because of that. Another useful module is control access to user settings. Because even though you've now given people the permission to edit users, you might not want them messing around with how users get created, whether or not they need administrative approval, the emails that go out, etc. So that module provides separate permissions for you to be able to break that up more finely grained, which can really help in the day-to-day operations. So now that we've gotten here, this is the really damn tasty part of it. Everything I've just demoed, you can now have in about 10 seconds. There's an install profile, which completely takes a standard Drupal install and makes it the tasty backend completely. So in that, you're going to get the admin menus. Your content types will be structured with the vertical tabs. You get management screens per content type for article and basic pages. And as of a couple days ago, if you add a new content type, it automatically creates an administration view with views bulk operations for that content type. So you don't have to create views for to manage each of your content types. The profile will do it for you. Now, it's your job to then customize those views to make sure the information shown in those views is relevant to the content type, because the default view isn't going to know what your content is like, just like Drupal isn't going to know what your content is like. But you already have the view there, you add your fields to it, away you go. It'll also do that for categories as well, for terms. So if you add a new vocabulary, you'll automatically get a new menu item. And the management screens for content and for terms are all dependent on permissions to edit that content type or term. So if you create a new content type, yes, you will get a new admin view for it, but it won't necessarily mean that the content's admin user role has access to it unless they have access to actually manage that content. So I think is a good permission way of doing that. So that works pretty cool. And I can demo that if need be. Yeah, so if I add a new content type, just to make sure everybody's on the same page with this, with the permissions, we'll call it tasty. Because hey, who doesn't want a tasty content type? Now, any new content types, they're not going to be automatically put into the default field sets as of now. I could. I'm debating whether or not to do that. I don't know. Maybe I will. Watch this space. So now that we have that, you'd think, oh no, we have this view, but we don't. Because this user does not have permission for any of this stuff. So then if we go to permissions, and now we have this tasty content type. And we save. And we refresh. We now have a thing to manage your tasties. Obviously, there's no that's pretty fun. Yeah, I'll be managing my tasties later after a couple drinks. There's no items, obviously, right now. We just created it, but that's what it'll do for you. And it's just darn cool for doing it, actually. And you can get that from GitHub right now. I don't have full access to post modules on Drupal.org yet, because even though I've written a few over the years, I've never actually gotten anything approved or put up there. I guess I'm still a noob in that regard. So it's on GitHub for now. Hopefully I'll be submitting that for approval at some point. And you can go out there and put it in. Right now you can obviously use it straight from GitHub. It's not going to have all the dependencies prepackaged in it, because that will only happen on Drupal.org. But you can run the makefile, and it'll do it all for you. And actually, since Jotes over here was talking about that last night, I'll show you just to prove that it does actually work. If you haven't looked into makefiles and stuff, I've learned loads about it putting together this profile. It's really, really sick. So this is basically just going to run through and install. It's downloading all the dependencies. Once the profile is up on Drupal.org, all these will automatically be packaged into it when you download it. But for now, I have to run it like this. So it's getting everything. It's going to install it. And this is the magic bit. Come on. Yay!
Yeah.
By the way, if you are installing sites with Drush, make sure you add the Druplicon =1 option. That way you get Druplicon. And not just some more Drush stuff. I'm setting up views the way I like it in the script. And I'm creating some demo content, and that's all stuff I just added to my script to make sure I had it. So now if we go back to our home, this is what you get by default, which is everything that I've just shown. So if we log in, I've got it set up right now to create some dummy accounts as well, just so I don't have to keep doing that over and over again. And once again, this is what you get out of the box. You'll have standard install, all set up like this, ready to go to continue on with whatever tasty adventures you're doing with your sites. And that is all. Since I have a captive audience, I'm obliged to give you all of my contact information. So you can, I don't know, tweet me and stuff, or maybe hire me or something. That's cool. So yes, thank you very much for putting up with me, as the slide says. Does anyone have any questions? Yeah?
In terms of adding menus, have you ever considered admin? And yeah.
This is the first time I've heard of it, so no. Yeah, I don't know of it, so something I can look into. Once again, this isn't the be-all, end-all, like I said. This is just the way I like doing it. Some of the admin stuff I have seen over the years, I think is still a bit too much for most of the people. That I think this need the day-to-day operations of just manage content and get in, get out, add a blog post, do whatever. So sometimes I think even those are quite heavy-handed. But by all means, I'm sure it can work. Someone over here first.
I'm not exactly sure how to frame this question.
Uh-oh.
I suppose what I'm interested in, everything we saw there was kind of, you got add and edit. I was wondering about whether you've done anything with workflow and workflow type modules like Workbench or similar.
For approval and whatnot.
Yeah, those kind of things. What do you think? What do you think of the state of those kind of UIs? What do you think could be done to make better?
I've used Workbench and things like that very minimally, only like once or twice. I like them because, as a lot of Drupal modules, you install it and then you get something that works. But I find them hard to customize and things. Quite frankly, if somebody asked me for a workflow, I'd probably just build it with rules and stuff like that, rules and views, and just kind of do it on my own. I always tend to, in all site building, err on the side of building things with the modules that I can use to build other things instead of relying on one module that says it's going to do it all. Because once you get in that situation, like, I don't know, all my clients always want something completely out of left field. And I'm like, oh, so now to do that in Workbench or something, I have to hack Workbench or have these crazy overrides or whatever else I don't want to do. When I know that I could probably build it in less time with using like views and rules or something like that. Maybe a bit of custom glue code or something, So I don't have any hard evidence or examples of workflows, but I'd look into something like that and building custom admin screens for them and stuff like that. So, yep.
You mentioned things to do with publishing. You just tell clients, just obviously a preview from scratch, so I understand that.
Yeah.
Just tell them to sort of, understand more thing about undershooting publishing.
Yeah.
Do you really do you want them to understand So, you know, I find it illogical. It's, you know, it's published, it's not published.
Yeah, I don't know actually. It's something that I don't think you can get around. You do need a state that is somewhere in there, and by default, Drupal calls it published. In my What the X session in London a couple months ago, I used an example of a custom entity type where I had active and not active, which kind of made a bit more sense. You can customize that. And I also thought, like, saying you need to activate something is a lot sexier in a lot of ways, and it's a lot more web. Like, you know, we're not publishing books. So, you know, and trying to convince clients that I'm not building them page after page is hard enough as it is sometimes. Everybody has this mentality, like, I'm not building you pages, I'm building you a system. So to anything that kind of moves away from publishing or book mentality, I'm all for. But since I don't agree with overriding terminology that's already really so baked into Drupal on the content type level, because it's going to appear in so many other places. You know, sometimes clients say, well, I want this label to be this. I'm like, yeah, but every other screen in the world is going to use that term. And now I got to hunt through or do a big, you know, what is the module like?
String override.
Yeah, string overrides and stuff like that. And it's messy because it's going to sneak up somewhere. It's going to be in a URL. So I do find that clients do put up stuff that's not published. So I mean, I haven't had any specific verbal feedback on that, which I would take as being a positive thing. Because if they didn't, then if I don't get any complaints, to me that's a positive thing. People tell you when stuff is wrong, usually not when stuff is right. So.
Using the data backend, I've had quite good success with the save as draft button model.
Oh yeah.
Which takes away the tick box of publishing, and literally puts a button there.
Oh yeah.
Publish or publish.
That could be a really good addition to this.
Well.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Cool. That's a good idea. I like that.
Question.
Yeah.
Does Drupal 8 need a data backend?
I haven't. Everyone keeps saying, "Oh, Drupal 8, Drupal 8." I'm like, yeah, but I'm not using Drupal 8, so I've got bills to pay. You know, all day, every day, I use Drupal 7 because that's what I'm building sites and that's what's ready. I don't have a strategy yet. One thing I do know is that, as I said earlier, I hate the default forms now. If I wanted it to look like WordPress, I'd use effing WordPress. But I don't, and I don't like the way that, especially that it puts all the stuff that you don't need to see up top. Like, you know, I don't want to show clients all these options that they don't have to look at right at the top of the screen. You know, hide it. I'm sure it'll come up. Also, all this depends on a lot of contrib modules, which aren't yet available for Drupal 8, so I can't even kind of test. So when I get there, everything does though. The whole point is, once again, is to customize, you know, your client's back end for the site you're building, because Drupal doesn't know what site you're building. Drupal is, you know, it's an unique entity of its own, to use the terminology. It's its own thing, and it doesn't know what you're doing with it. And it's not its job to. Drupal's job isn't to build a site for you and to configure everything the way that you think it should be automatically. You know, it's your job to customize, to build the CMS you need for the content you have, not the other way around. So, of course it should, and anything in Drupal 8, you should customize it any way you see fit. Please do, and please create user roles. Yeah.
I see something that is coming in Drupal 8, and it's core for Drupal 8. I think it's a tour module. I think it may depend on having a tour UI to help that along, make your own custom ones. But
I am all about the tour module. I saw a demo, I completely forgot about it, thanks for bringing it up. I saw a demo of that a while back, and I was like, I cannot wait to give clients this. Because, you know, you've baked the documentation right into the site. If they say, I don't know how to do this, take the tour. Don't send me an email, take the tour. And if you do send me an email, I'm going to send an email back saying, take the tour. Leave me alone. Yeah. That's it. Yeah, I think tour is a hell of an improvement, or just a hell of an addition in general. I know you had in the very beginning, sorry.
That's okay. I think you already said something. There's a problem with getting modules from Drupal.org. So why is that why there's two make files? One pulls from Git and the other one pulls from...
If you, well, let me look at the code. in an install profile, excuse me, you have a regular makefile,
Yeah.
which basically specifies basically Drupal version. This stuff is in here because yeah, I do need to pull this from Git. But then the actual there's another one which is the Drupal.org makefile, and basically all this does is package it up on Drupal.org. Because when you download an install profile or distribution or whatever you want to call it from Drupal.org, it's going to have all these modules in it. So they have to get pulled from somewhere to package up. Otherwise, we'd have everybody committing modules over and over and over again into install
So you
profiles.
use one or the other? Not both?
No, you use both. Because basically, once this gets up on Drupal.org, this makefile here will then package all the stuff up. So then when you download the install profile, all these modules will already be in it. Now, when I'm running that, cool, awesome script, just so I can show you that, I have to run that through a custom script I wrote, which essentially just, it calls this, and this is mine, so I changed it to a different Git URL because I know I've got my SSH key set up, and if you don't, I don't want that to happen. And this script just calls that, and then once this gets downloaded, it recursively goes through it.
Yeah.
So there's a message up here that says, found makefile. So my makefile that downloaded Drupal 728 was that downloaded. Then when it cloned the Tasty Backend standard from Git, it then found the Drupal.org makefile in that, and then it went through it.
Yeah, it's triggered.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Which is fun as well. Like I love working on this. It makes it fun. I can just rebuild this over and over again. It works. It's a cool way of doing things. I hadn't looked into Drushmake. I've seen some sessions on it and stuff before this. This is my first time really kind of getting into it. I loved it. It's a lot of fun. It's really cool. It also applies patches and things as well, because the context admin module that I talked a bit about, there's one patch in there somebody else did, and I actually submitted a patch the other day, because if you're resetting to alphabetical on taxonomy term pages, it was redirecting you to the core pages, and if somebody doesn't have the right permissions, then they'll get access denied.
So you can be more up to date than the module.
Yeah, exactly. So because what it does is if you look at the this one, you'll see that when it downloads context admin, it also downloads these two patches and applies them. So like that's sweet. I mean, keeps everything going without you having to remember you have patches on this module or something. It's already in there. Anything else? No? Cool. Thank you very much for listening.